9 o'clock. Yes, this very morning. Now heading straight into our business insight this morning. But before we get there, don't forget the markets on the Zabo platform, which open every Monday up to Friday from 8:15. That is 8:15 a.m. till 3:15 p.m. East African time. And of course, like I said, effective Monday to Friday, except on the weekends and the public holidays when these markets are not in operation. Now, with the USD code STAR292#, you are in position to buy government bonds and securities with as little as 15,000. But you can choose to invest more than that. But for the sake of making life much more easy and affordable for all, Zabo just decides to put it at 15,000. You can trade these bonds week over week, year after year, and you'll realize quite some huge profits without any paperwork needed. Regardless of the location you are into, all you need is your mobile phone, and life will be made easy. Zabo says, "My money, my future," and all takes East Africa says, "Do something new." Now heading into our business insight this morning. Of course, there has been massive discussions about this very topic, which we're going to be observing regarding renewable energy. Yes, now with Joram here, we can share the brief insight here. The renewable energy, of course, we've seen quite lots of campaigns, different companies that are into clean energy. And they have even gone to an extent of partnering with banks that you can actually get a loan for yourself if you want to get these, like you want a cooker, a pressure cooker, all this. And I think it's something very good. We are running away from the traditional cooking of, firewood, charcoal, which of course emits quite dangerous gases into the atmosphere, but also our health. It's one of the key repercussions. And I don't know, sometimes I ask myself, how far have we Ugandans been in position to adapt to this change? I don't know how you see it.
Well, I think when you look at transitioning to clean energy for Uganda mainly, and looking at the fact that we are moving into that side or that direction, is mainly because of the fact that first, the matters to address climate change has led to this, and then also that has been the key factor rather. So there has been the priority of making sure that if we are to let go of using, for example, or to stop using charcoal, we then have to look at more safer alternatives. Exactly. And of course, when you look at the safer alternatives here, is where you've come to realize people now changing to using LPG, others actually using electricity, which in the long run as well, obviously they have some health complications related, but first is charcoal in Africa and in Uganda mainly has been the main source of, for example, domestic use of energy. If you're to look at the fact that people who have actually been using it's at least when you look at electricity, it's renewable. That is hydroelectricity generated from the river. Then you look at liquefied petroleum gas. In the long run, Uganda's oil and gas sector is going to be booming and starting up. That means it's becoming more easier because we shall be having our own. So besides that, you get to realize that first, regardless of the fact that we've been looking at the charcoal, use of charcoal, I think charcoal does seem to be like clean energy if you to look at it, but it's not, because what brings up the charcoal is you're burning, you're cutting down trees, of course, you're cutting down forests and everything in order to to burn to get the charcoal. So after that, what happens after? If it's a natural forest, it's going to take years for it to pick up again, and that is if at all you do the efforts of replanting. Reforestation, which is very difficult. It's only a few who are interested and seeing this as a business, and they will be like, okay, after cutting, can we add more trees? Because when you look at the fact that as you're actually heading to Mavira, you'll come to realize the fact that first of all, most of the trees that are being cut down that side are being used in other deep things, furniture and the rest. Now, most of the charcoal that comes from northern Uganda and western Uganda, the question is, after these trees are cut down, who is really dedicated enough to put them up? So, you know, to do the reforestation again. But when we look at transitioning to the clean energy all over the country, it is something that everyone is picking up, and it's positively picking up. The fact that it is at least giving people room for ease. Because, you know, it's very fast. For example, if you're using gas at home to cook, you're using a gas cooker at home to cook, it won't take you a time. After switching on, you're already powered on. Unlike when you're using charcoal, because you have to first of all light up a matchbox, wait for it for around 15 to 20 minutes for the heat to come up, and you again start cooking. You have to add more charcoal all the time as the others keep on, you know, burning off, and all that. But of course, when we talk about clean energy, there is an element of skilling people on the safer use of this kind of energy.
I was even about to talk about that. Safety,
exactly.
Key, you know. We've seen people die out of, you know, somebody lights a gas, probably, you know, like sometimes you could be probably you come back tired, and you know you light this gas and you sleep, and you're like I'll wake up. You know that nap you take and you say I'm going to wake up after 5 minutes. Before you know it, it's an entire night. You know? So
skilling and of course training people on how to use these clean energy models needs to be very, very prioritized in Uganda here. Besides the fact that it's creating employment opportunities for those who are engaging in the same, but then also how about those who are using it? Because if you are transitioning to something you're not used to, you need more training on how to utilize, and that training is something that we need to focus on, and who knows, it will be a game changer for us.
Well, I think it will definitely, because I know there are people there who may not know how to even use. You know, some of these things sound obvious, but Joram, you know, when you walk around the other parts of town, even actually, you'll be surprised with what people know, with what you know. This is what you thought the people outside knew, and you know the reconciliation doesn't seem to add up in that very perspective. But anyway, we hope there is a positive uptake to make sure that at least by the coming years we've been able to curb this issue regarding climate change, pollution at the same time. Now, of course, with Alvin Araka. With our inside discussion, he works for Energy and Research Conservation. He has something to say regarding this very topic.
Sure, I can say it has been a time worthwhile. My expectations have been met. Everything to do from sizing to how to determine the right place to put mini grid. I believe this has been really worthy training, especially in terms of knowledge, increase of knowledge, because that is something that the energy sector is lacking. So it's very important to have people out there who really know what to do and who can also spread this gospel of mini grids and solar. And also going forward, I see this playing a big hand as far as increasing the electrification rate in Uganda, because we know the national grid is not able to reach every place, but also we benefited a lot from some of the case studies that talked to us during the training. A lot has been done. People are benefiting from mini grids, and for sure, with us also being the first lot of the Creek Academy to study mini grids for rural development, we can be confident that that we are headed in the right direction as far as increasing access to electrification is concerned.
Well, you can participate in many ways. One, stakeholders and partners such as GIZ, as you heard us mention earlier, Ministry of Energy on the policy end, financiers, other development partners can be strategic partners to the academy because we have one goal to ensure that we have access to clean energy in the shortest time possible. The other way that you can participate in the academy is to be a student, to come and learn So people that are doing businesses in mini-grids, businesses in renewable energy, this is a platform for them to come and be updated on state-of-the-art technology, to have skills, to have access to facilities where they can, practice, learn how to design, to install, learn updated tools, applications that they can leverage on for their businesses. And one of the things that we'll do for the participants is to better prepare them to access other opportunities such as financing for their projects, which is a key challenge right now in the renewable energy sector. Is a vehicle that will help CRIC in the next years after this launch that we've just had, scale up its capacity building initiatives to drive the clean energy sector, not only in Uganda, in East Africa, including Southern Sudan, and in the other parts of the world where we have partnerships and initiatives already ongoing for the past 20 years that we have been, doing interventions in access to modern types of energy through applied research, capacity building, and advisory services. We will also be able, through the Academy, to measure the impact of the trainings. There are several trainings that have been done. We've also done many trainings before, as we've been in existence for over 20 years, but we now want to check that whatever knowledge is transferred through the trainings in the Academy is tracked, on usage is tracked in terms of jobs created, jobs sustained, systems installed and maintained to run their full life. And we have embedded knowledge management tools within the training. It's a blended approach where we have on-site training with the practicals, but also online trainings using tools that can be tracked over months, over years, to ensure that whatever we're investing in the trainings, the materials that are carefully created are actually going to be used by the participants. And for us, that is very important for scaling up. It's important to show these impact numbers to the partners and to the government. One of the things that can do for the government is that this data can be used to review policies on capacity building in the sector that can help the entire sector achieve its targets within Vision 2040.
This carbon effect in the atmosphere, and this is the catchword all over the world. And they are saying now it is energy transition. Just energy transition. Why they say just energy transition is to set everybody to innovate on how they can achieve the clean energy transition. And through this kind of innovations that you have, because I've moved around, I've seen how you would want to get generators for mini grids to produce power using water. You are trying to produce, to get cooking, equipment just for cooking. That is clean energy cooking. This is what we are trying to do. And before this discovery that I think the fossil fuels were hazardous to the environment, world environment, people were not tuned to this. And the whole world is now moving and clamoring to make sure they really go to produce equipment for clean energy transition. And this is what you have been doing. I have seen various areas here. We are very happy. This building is a whole building of scientists. I think you are not going up to this far. We are working out because the world says no. They have told us, please mark time. If you don't move, it is so bad. And it should not be Uganda, which will be left behind to be polluting the environment using these fossil fuels and so on. To me, I'm impressed.
Well, that's a use of course, renewable energy in Uganda, and you can see how far we're coming when it comes to adaptation of this. Now, Jerome, there is a report here in London on about energy efficient technologies cut electricity bills. Now, we're looking at away from just the environment change, but we also see the economic potential that they hold, of course, when it comes to saving money. Now, of course, we see that today several people are changing their cooking habits by opting for clean, that is cooking energy, and this puts less pressure on the climate and environment. But still, we see that cleaner technologies have a higher, that is calorific value, meaning more heat is generated, of course, to cook meals faster and suffer lower energy loss compared to the traditional options. Now, this is very applicable, most especially for people having restaurants. You are able to maximize speed, and you know, you are, first of all, the bills are a little bit less, and you are able to maximize output at the same time. Now, based on the World Health Organization guidelines, clean fuels and technologies in the context of indoor air quality and household fuel combustion include, that is, electric cookers, liquefied petroleum gas, natural gas, biogas, you know, ethanol fuel, and many more of this. And coming in down to opposing the former energies we've been using, that is charcoal, coal, crop waste, and dry dung, you know, kerosene and wood at the same time. So you get to see how you know, we've come as a country when it comes to transition of this energy. Now, in December 2021, Electricity Regulatory Authority (ERA) introduced a new cooking tariff plan that is aimed at reducing electricity bills significantly for industries and domestic cooking. You know, now according to the new tariff structure, homeowners using electricity for cooking pay 412 shillings per kilowatt. You know, that's per kilowatt. I think that is quite very fair, and you know, and you know, by such, you know, we can preach about all this gospel of new technologies, but when you think from the perspective of a low-income household, they want to feel, okay, what is the advantage I have? Because many people don't really care about climate change, by the way. They don't care. However much you say, you know, we are conserving the climate.
Exactly.
Somebody's going to buy charcoal.
Sure.
Cool. Because that's what he can afford. But if you put a financial benefit on anything you're pushing for the country like Uganda, I think it really makes more sense. You know, now like ERA's tariff here, whereby 412 412 shillings per kilowatt. You know, I think that makes it credible, and I'll find a reason to, you know, to buy, to use electricity to cook, because I know I'm saving money, and in that way, I'm conserving the environment. With ease.
Well, I think, like you've mentioned, I think some people normally bring in the financial factor here as to why they end up using the other means that the government wants us to transition from. Because of the fact, if for example you are a cook and you're using, let's say, case in point, like you've mentioned, charcoal. You will ideally feel like charcoal is at least better to be used. For starters, you feel like, anyway, why can't I pick on charcoal instead? Because it is the better alternative in terms of monetary, you know,
saving money.
Saving money and everything. But of course, you get to realize that also the full deployment and usage of clean energy in Uganda or renewable energy technologies in Uganda is being held back a little by the fact that the industry stakeholders have come out and have actually called it some policy implications. There is also inadequate grids and infrastructures. For example, such as limited access to private and foreign financing. That is from the bigger picture. So some of them want the government to at least make it easier. For example, when you look at the fact that our solar uptake It's not that as much on the personal base, on the personal level. Now you look at the people who take solar. For example, people who use solar energy. You come to realize that it's mostly used by people in the rural settings.
Very
and they only use it for light.
Light, by the way.
And charging, maybe charging their phones and everything. But normally some of them put them, or at least having a radio that is powered by solar, or a simple television set that is powered by solar. So I think we have more sources of clean energy, especially when it comes to renewable energy. But then also the mere fact that we have inadequate infrastructure and grids to support the entire access of this to the entire country, it becomes difficult. But then also, like you've mentioned, the financial pool structure needs to be highly addressed.
Very true.
As a country. We really need to look at it and first of all focus on the fact that one, we want Ugandans to change to the other way, because we've come to realize that fighting or addressing matters that lead to climate change, it's going to be more expensive.
Very expensive.
And globally, it's a cause that is actually costing billions and billions of dollars, which clearly shows you how much of an investment it is supposed to bring in for Uganda, and why we need to focus more on the same.
Yeah, and actually maybe you mentioned something about the private sector. I mean, there is much involved. There is more need for private sector investment because as we speak right now, I think we've seen quite, most of these companies are trying to engage, pushing this agenda there. But I feel like the government should also come in to make this a reality, to act as a backup, for the private sector. Because if you compare with the current economic climate, vis-a-vis the goodwill of these private investments that they are trying to do by partnering with these financial institutions and so many other, you find that it will become a burden in the long run. For these private companies to, try to give these at subs, like remember, there is also need to, away from getting these loans.
Yes.
There is also where these companies subsidize the prices at which they give out some of these gadgets, equipments that are needed for clean energy use. So all those should be put into consideration. Government should get to know that at the end of the day, it will be burdening the private investors. And we need to have a collective effort together to make sure that we can achieve what we intend to achieve. Well, 26 minutes past 9, still driving your business here. I'm Andrew Barije, I'm with Joram together as we keep your business steady fast with the right information. Now let's get into a short break. When we return, shall we taking a look, today we are officially launching the tech updates of definitely every Monday and Wednesdays, when we shall be having tech updates on the program. Well, for the tech funds right there, well, we got you sorted here as we shall be letting you know what's really happening so that you can weigh a balance and see what to do. Well, now let's get into a short break. We shall be returning with our tech update and also wrap this up with our on-ground discussion. Good morning.